Hi, everybody. I'm Amy,
And hi, I'm Andrea.
and this is the right crowd. So grab a cup of coffee,
Or a cup of tea.
maybe a little something on the rocks, and let's get started.
Today, speaking of life, we're talking about Dear Writer, You Need to Quit by Becca Syme.
And this is the first one in a set of lots of them.
Yes, this is the first one. And I've had this for a couple of years. And even though I've taken her classes, I've taken the Better, Faster Academy, or she has at least 2 author classes in her repertoire, which we've talked about on other videos. I've taken both of those and I've watched her YouTube videos. She has a very prolific videos channel on YouTube. We'll look to all of those in the show notes. But even though I've done all of that and I'm a fan, I'd never read her book. You're right.
She also has a podcast, which I have started listening to because of the book.
And I just want to say before we get started, it's not even a thick book. It's not a big fat book. It's I got this bookmark at one of the conferences and she was there. And so, but yeah, it's not a thick book. We're talking about 164 pages in the shorter format. But I'm kicking myself. I wish I had read this 2 years or maybe one when I was first starting out before the angst started. Before it started. I read this, maybe I would have had less angst and anxiety about the whole writing and publishing process. Thank you.
It was good.
So, all right. So let's see. I have a signed version because I saw her at 20 books to 50 carries.
I do not. I saw her, but no, I did not.
All right. So we start this book. Let's start with the bad news. I'm being facetious because that's the name of the first chapter. The first chapter's bad news. So what did you think of the first chapter there, Amy?
So I'm one of those people when I start to read a book where I know in the first couple pages whether or not I'm going to like it. And there was some bad news for me in this first chapter. I really liked it. I like how she explains what basically it's the whole thing when you go to teach a class, tell them what you're going to tell them, tell them what you told them. And so she starts with that. And then she goes, okay, let's get this out of the way. And no, just because the front of the book says you need to quit doesn't mean you need to quit. However, some of you might need to quit. Like she leaves it very personable and makes it okay. All of the points in the book, every point that she makes, it's like, here's what you need to do. And it's okay if that's the direction that you decide you need to go for you, because it's not going to be the same for everybody. So I like that. What about you?
I like that you made it clear that everybody's not the same. Everybody's journey is different. And even though she bases a lot of her coaching and classes, and she even mentions it slightly in here, the Clifton strengths, she mentions it. Even if you have a certain strength, your journey still might be, if you have the same strength as others, your journey might be different. Your mileage may vary. And she mentions that. And just to caveat, even though she bases her coaching on the strengths, you don't need to have taken the strengths to read this book. I mean, she mentions it lightly, but did a great job of not making it a required reading or testing for this. This is completely separate from that. And you can not worry about whether or not you've done the strengths, or if you've done the strengths, you're ahead of the game. You're not. I'm done this.
So if you've done it, fabulous. If you haven't done it, it's cool. Like it's not going to change anything.
Right. So in that first bad news chapter, I love the bad news is okay. All right. So the secret is there is no silver bullet, but I mean, that's not a secret. It's not a spoiler. This is not a novel. And if you've ever seen her speak, she says that at the beginning and in the middle of every talk she ever gives. Everybody goes to these classes and conferences looking for the silver bullet to make it easy to write faster, to make more money, to write better. And unfortunately, there is not one. Just like if you want to be a doctor and you're in high school, there's no silver bullet you can take, and then you're a doctor when you're 22. You have to take classes, study, and all that stuff. My favorite quote, or not my favorite, because I've outlined and stickied a bunch of this, but in the first chapter, she says, "You write these stories of transformation all day long, every day, some of you, and yet you still expect your own journey of transformation to be easy." And she puts that in bold. And I sat back after I read that and I went, well, yes, I do. And then right after that paragraph, which I circled, she says, "Don't be stupid." I had to sit with that for a while and go, okay, Becca. Thank you, Becca. It's tough love, but it's needed. It's very needed. And I'm going to
Yeah.
jump to the end, or who's this book for? If you are on the brink of overwhelm or anxiety about your writing, or you're in the middle of it, or you just want to avoid some of the frustration and anxiety, go ahead and buy this book. All right, let's go. What's next for you?
Are you done with the first one?
Let me just double check. Okay, so one more quote. So the true bad news is that most of you reading this book won't do the work. And that reminded me many of the multi-level marketing programs I've heard of. And I sold a few. I sold Tupperware because I needed Tupperware. But there were a couple of others that I sold. But they say that in all those programs. If you do the work, you will make progress, and you'll be successful. Many of you won't do the work, and you'll be mad that you didn't get the results you wanted, but then you didn't do the work. So, all right,
Is she the one that put in one of these chapters about the cake mix?
I don't remember the case.
So recently I read okay, guys, just for everyone's on the same page. I've read 20 books so far this quarter. So I don't know where I got this analogy from. Or maybe I made it up myself while I was reading. I don't know. I can't tell you. But what I can tell you is that it's like pulling out all the ingredients for a cake and then looking at those ingredients and wanting to know why the cake isn't ready for you to eat. You
Oh,
haven't done the work. You haven't put all the ingredients together. You haven't put it in the oven. You haven't let it bake. That's what gives you the cake, not just the ingredient. So she gives you all these other books that we've talked about, they all give you the stuff, but it's not going to put itself together. We are not in the iRobot age yet.
right.
So you have to do it. You have to do it.
Okay.
What I do want to say though is she says, "You're right, or you need to quit." So each chapter in here is something you need to quit doing.
Mhm.
So each chapter is a quit. And then she explains what that quit is and how it will help you become a better writer.
Okay.
But I don't think we should tell them what all the quits are.
No, we shall not tell them what all the quits are. I have a couple that are favorite towards the end. I will say the chapter 2. I want to say that one because if you are a writer who's been in rooms or places with other writers, you may have heard this before and not knew where it came from. But it's question the premise. So the name of this chapter 2 is quit accepting the premise. So what Becca teaches you is to stop accepting the premise that if you do blank, you will have the exact same results as that other person. Like you must write every day. And she says, but do you?
She says that a lot. She'll tell you what the assumption is, and then she'll be like, "But do you? But does it? But did it?" Like,
Yeah.
because and this is the other thing I think is interesting is if you look at some writers, they don't even write some of their books the same way. Because just because it worked the way they wrote one book doesn't mean it's going to work for them the same way when they write the second book. And I think that's why some writers also get stuck because they try to do their own thing the same way again. And it's a new beast. So I like that she's like, just because it worked for one person. And then she does say, you go to these classes where they say, come do this and and then it doesn't work and you're all mad. Well, the person shouldn't have promised something that they can't guarantee
Yeah.
when it comes down to it.
Yeah. And good instructors don't. They say, they give you like your mileage may vary. Here's this
Yeah.
technique. Take it and adapt it to your own system or process or way of writing. But here's
Yep.
a technique that I use and may be beneficial to you. So moving on, anything you want to cover in that one or the next one? Oh, by the way, for those of you who are new to our channel, thank you. Please like and subscribe. But this is a writing craft book review or writing craft book club. And we just come in here and talk about writing craft. And we do not tell you all the stuff in the books because if we like the books, which we usually only do ones for the books we like.
It's a secret, a caveat. There are times where we will start a book and we'll message each other and be like, no, no, no. And we will put it away and move on.
Yeah. You will never see hide nor hair.
And we won't tell you what those are because it may work for you. We don't want to turn you away from a book.
But we always advise if we like the book that you should go buy it because we're not going to tell you all the good stuff, but we're going to go through it like a book club and talk about what worked or resonated for us. But anyway, let's move on.
I have one in chapter 3 that I wanted to point out. She talks about keystone habits. And basically, it's like the cornerstone of a wall. Like you need that base in order to build something. She said, keystone habits are little tweaks that bring a broken or malfunctioning system into alignment and allow it to bear weight again.
I love it.
Yeah. And they're not the system. They're the things that help you get those things into alignment, and they'll have an impact, but they're not the system that you use. They're the habits.
I like that. Just the thought of that. For me, one of my keystone habits, and they can change over time, but one of my keystone habits
Every month.
Yeah. For a while was sprinting. And I still love sprinting. Sprinting is good for me to get my words in. But sometimes I have a sense of overwhelm when I sit down to sprint and I cannot train my brain back to just write the words. Trying to get back there. But my 5 a.m. and 7 a.m. sprints are really good habits for me to get into my author mindset and sit down and do author work, whether it's writing or social media or newsletter, whatever it is. This is my time to be an author. I want to redirect it to this is my time just to write instead of doing all the other things. And my plan is to train my brain back to just writing in that sprint time instead of the other things. So anyway, but that was an example of one of my keystone habits. I didn't have anything else in chapter 4. The keystone thing or chapter 3, but that's a pretty good call out.
What I have recently been working on developing, because it is new. We're both planners, like both of us are. And every month, you see the papers hanging on my door.
Mm-hmm.
So every month I review what worked, what didn't work, and then I redo what my schedule is going to look like for my days off, my days on. Well, my days off, what I have been doing and what actually helped me to write the end of this month.
We should be celebrating that. You got to the end of your book.
Oh my gosh, I'm so excited. And what helped me get there is, okay, so I'm sitting in my office and it is set up so that the desk that I am sitting on is my writing desk. This space behind me is for art and creativity because yes, I'm a 5-year-old in my head. And then I have a desk over here that is for all my planning and projects and all that stuff, right? So I have separated because I know I need the space separated. Or when I get to my desk, I will sit down and do what I see, which means I'll never get to anything else, right? So I have it all separated, which was working for a little while. But then I realized that I was spending all my time on this desk over here, and I would go weeks without ever making it to my writing desk. So this past month, I incorporated on my days off. I get up, I take care of the dogs. I don't even do my morning walk. I have my bag packed the night before, computer and all, and I go to the coffee shop.
Ooh.
I pick a local coffee shop and I will sit down and I'm there for an hour or two, however long I feel like. I don't tell myself that I have to stay or or I can't say longer than. I make no plans to do anything that has any kind of schedule that I have to get to. I get up, I go to the coffee shop, and I write. Now, whether that's I'm writing, I'm editing, I'm doing whatever, the only thing I have taken with me is my writing stuff for what I am working on. Here, you could say, well, Amy, just do that at home. You have a writing desk. Yes. But do you see all the things around me that could distract me? And I have dogs, and one of them likes to whine all the time because she wants to go out, and then she wants to come in, and then she wants to go out, and then she wants to come in. So if I get away, I can get my writing done. That has become a keystone habit for me. And now that this one says the end, I am now tomorrow on my day off. I will go to the coffee shop and I've got to reread and make sure that all the stuff I changed at the end, because I'm a pantser and I like to live life on the edge, doesn't conflict with what I'd already written. But it has become a keystone habit and I don't see myself changing it. My husband's a nerd just like I am. So he will take work stuff and go to the coffee shop with me. And if he doesn't, he doesn't. But he knows that now on Mondays and Tuesdays, we have coffee shop if we want to go, if he wants to come with me. But every month I review and that is working for me. So as long as it's working, I will continue to do it.
That's awesome.
You should try it.
Well, think about it. I'm trying to, but I'm not.
You want to join me for coffee on Monday?
I said, yeah, sure. I'll fly across.
I'm right in your car.
Yeah.
I'll see you in a month.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. So quit changing all the things is the next chapter 4. And that one actually resonated with me. I work in IT, and one of the cornerstones of IT is if you need to change things, you need to plan them and you need to change one thing at a time. So you can know if something broke, which change broke it,
Yes.
or which
Yes.
change made the best effect, or like that keystone habit for you. So that is a great chapter for those of you who are trying to do all the things that you learn in all the conferences. And I tried that at first. I was like, I was listening to author chat in the morning. And I was going to conferences. I was reading books. I was on podcasts, and I was trying to do all of these things and incorporate all of them. And I would be super successful. What I was is super worn out, and I couldn't figure out what would work for me, what wouldn't. So
And I have a question. With all the stuff you were doing, how much writing did you actually get done?
not a lot of writing, actually. Yeah. Well, because I was trying to do, and I did
All the doing, you got caught up in all the doing.
all the doing, and I did get my author website up, and I got my author web or newsletter set up, and I got editors picked out. I did all of these things, but the writing was suffering. I wasn't doing the writing, which is the most important thing. So, all right. Anything for you in chapter 4?
So one thing I highlighted multiple things in this chapter. One thing that I highlighted was pick the top priority only and take some steps to strategically and intentionally impact that one big thing. And that's exactly what I did. I realized as I'm reading this and I looked at the next thing that I highlighted, it's exactly what I did. The next thing I highlighted was when you choose one thing and take consistent, direct action, you'll make better progress and you'll be most likely to affect long-term change. I got my writing done.
Yeah.
I think I've been working on this book for 3 years.
Yes.
Yes, I've started other projects because I got stuck in not wanting to change anything in the book. So I'd start something else. But yeah, I like it. Consistent. And I think it's consistent is the key too.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
What she says in there, another one I highlighted was take action to change the most important thing, and don't let yourself back down from that, because it can be scary to make that one big change. That one big change, or even a small change, could transform everything, your writing, your career, and all that stuff. But it could be scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. Let's move on through. I did highlight a lot in the next chapter. So chapter 5 is quit trying to be like everyone else. And she writes a lot of good stuff in here. In
Yeah.
my chapter if you're like that, and you should buy the book to read all things. But I want to highlight the first two that I highlighted in here. I want to highlight the ones that I highlighted. Their system is not magic. Their alignment is not magic. So she talks about aligning yourself with a system, and that's kind of that. It, it doesn't work. The same thing doesn't work for everyone, but if your system is in alignment with who you are as a person and how you react and your core being, then it'll work for you. But their alignment is not magic, and their system is not magic. And I love that because I was in the past getting into the habit of thinking that successful writers had to have the magic button or the magic system. And if I did that system, write a book in 30 days and publish it and, publish every 30
Or a
days
week.
or a week, yes, then I would get what they got. I would have the same success. So, yeah, it was a good chapter for me.
Yeah.
For you in this chapter?
I actually highlighted that same area, and then there's something at the end, but it doesn't make sense to just read what I highlighted, and I don't wanna go back to like, it's situational, and I don't wanna go back to see why like, what made that stick out for me. But then at the end, I highlighted something where this is where we said, just because it works for this person doesn't mean it's gonna work for everybody. I mean, it may work for you.
Mhm.
And it says, to think that one set of goals is the best for everyone is to not understand the human brain.
Preach. Yes. Yeah, that's true. The human brain is
Yeah.
so complex in myriad
Yeah.
types. Okay, one
You
more.
know, it is so crazy too if you think about it. Like, how many gazillion people are in the world? And only so many people are gonna, like, think the same way you do and have the same thing that works for them. Like, I've been married 22 years, and we've gotten into a rhythm where I do my thing, he does his thing, and if they line up, they line up.
Mhm.
And if they don't, that's great. I'm happy, he's happy. Whatever. Like, and then to think that some random person you've never met before, what works for them is gonna work for you, and it's just gonna be all peachy keen. That's yeah, that's all I'll say. Sorry, guys, I keep rubbing my eyes. There's my eyelashes just are not happy today. Sorry, I'll do this. How's this? I'll just record the rest like this.
It's not creepy at all. One other thing I wanted to highlight in this one is something that she says in this book that reminded me of something a coach said to me. She says, I can hear, she says in this chapter, she's writing it, and she's talking to you, she's breaking forth well. She's saying, I can hear those of you with higher driving personalities who think if you just try harder and you drive it, you will make it work for you. I can hear those of you with higher driving personalities saying to yourself, she just doesn't want it bad enough. I had a coach say that to me. She was not a good coach. I'm not gonna tell you that coach's name. It was many, many years ago. Many years ago. But I was having trouble. I was in the middle of a merger and acquisition at work, and I had a lot of work, working a lot of hours, like 60 plus 80, 60 hours a week. I mean, and I had no time for my writing. And so I wasn't meeting these deadlines we had set. We have a coaching call and I'd say, I'm going to do this. And then something would happen at work and I might get part of it. I wouldn't get the whole thing. And at a few sessions in, she said, have you considered maybe you just don't want it bad enough? And I was devastated. And luckily, I was able to come back from that on my own. I did. I mean, I said, no, I was verklempt. I was so emotional when she said that to me. You're a coach. Don't say that to people. It's mean. Maybe they've got other things in their life going on. Maybe their brains are different. Maybe the system doesn't work for them. Maybe they're not in alignment. Maybe they're working a merger and an acquisition and are working 60 plus hours a day and just are exhausted at night. But anyway, so
Please tell me you didn't have her as a coach for too much longer.
oh no, she wanted me to buy another package. And I was like, no, I don't think I even finished that package. I'm like, you know what? We don't have to finish. I'm good. You just run along. You are not a good coach. Terrible coach. Yeah, that was a bad situation.
As someone who is a past coach, I am sorry that she said that to you.
Thank you, Amy.
There's so many other ways to make a point than that. So, I am so sorry that she
Yeah,
said that.
thank you. All right, so let's move on through this book.
I don't like her.
Yes, tell me about it.
Sorry. Okay.
Makes two of us. All right, so is there another chapter that stood out for you?
I'm flipping through because we've probably we talk a lot.
We do. We're chatty chatters, especially when we like a book and there's
Oh, okay. So I don't know that I highlighted anything. Oh, yeah, I did. Okay. Chapter 8.
where I am.
I like the title of that chapter.
Yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Do you want to tell what the chapter and leave people in suspense? Just
No. Okay. Yeah.
you
So,
guys have to buy the book to find out what the title of chapter 8 is.
actually, I think it's good for everyone, just in general. As a general rule of thumb in life, you should really do what the title of chapter 8 is. Sorry. Okay. So it's quit focusing on your weakness.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I think a lot of people just in life in general
In general, yeah.
get stuck on that. And the other thing that they do is okay, so two things. You are comparing their outside with your inside.
Mhm.
You are only seeing what they are showing you and what you to see.
Yes.
You are not necessarily the real person. You also aren't seeing what their brain is telling them about themselves. Because just because they look like they have it all together doesn't mean that their brain is not telling them that they can't write for crap, that no one wants to hear what they have to say, that all the things that your brain is telling you, their brain could be telling them. They're showing you a different story.
Yes.
The other thing is just because it is what you perceive as a weakness for yourself doesn't mean that someone else isn't looking at you going, "Oh my gosh, I wish I could do that."
Mhm.
Okay? So, we all have weaknesses. We all have things that we go to bed at night and we think, "Did I really do that today? Did I really say that today? How did I not get that done? Where did all my time go?" Like, we all do this. We all do this. I lay in bed and I'm like, or it's time to get ready for work and I'm like,
Yes.
"I've been up for 5 hours. What did I get done? I mean, I never stopped, so I had to have gotten something done. What did I get done today?" Right?
Right.
But I go to work and I seem like I'm all together because no one knows that part. So just keep in mind that your weakness could be someone else's. Okay, here's a good one. Are you ready? Weight loss.
Okay.
Okay. Has nothing to do with writing, right? Weight loss. My goal weight is someone else who has that weight already probably has a different goal weight. Someone could look at me and be like, "Oh my gosh, I wish I looked like her."
Mhm.
And I'm looking at someone else going, "Oh my gosh, I wish that was my ass." Right? So, you know it you
Okay. We're going for a PG rating on our or on our YouTube, Amy.
we don't know what you mean. It's the
Yes,
same
we know what
thing.
you mean. Yes.
Same thing.
Yes.
What you perceive as a weakness is someone else's goal,
Yes.
whether
And
in writing, in life, in weight, in your choice of partner.
mhm, very true.
So, just think of it that way.
Another way I've heard it put that I really like is and it applies to social media and awards and things like that. You are when you start feeling bad about the FOMO or you wish you had or were or whatever fill in the blank that other person is, you are comparing their best day to your everyday. Like
Yep.
every day you do the blah, 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 but you are looking at them at the winning an Oscar for best screenplay, or you're looking at them, being a six-figure or seven-figure author, and that's a really good day for them, or that's the culmination of a lot of work. And you're thinking you're comparing that to your everyday, to, just the grind, and not giving the work the weight that it needs.
Exactly, exactly. You only see the end result. You don't see that they've been struggling for who knows? They could have been struggling for longer than you've been struggling for, and
Yeah,
all you see is the end result.
very true. One other she makes in this same chapter on page 68, I highlighted, and it's a concept that is pervasive through the book. And is, I'm sorry, your alignment between personality, platform, patterns, resources, and environment. That's where you're going to get your being wired for success. That's how you get that. And so it's not by comparing. It's not by buying into another system or an expensive class. It's that the alignment. It has to work for you. And I think we're beating a dead horse on that one. But it's, you need to hear it. Probably people. I needed to read it.
Yeah.
So like we said, we're not going to go through every chapter, but let's hit do you have another highlighted one that was really good for you?
Am I still in chapter 8? I may have moved to chapter 9. Let me look.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm in chapter 9. So no, I'm good for chapter 8.
All right. Yeah, I'm past you, so go ahead if you have anything in chapter 9.
I have one thing. I think I have one thing. I may have two things in chapter 9. She says that she talks about how our brains work
Mhm.
and neurons and patterns and circuits and stuff. She said, when your neurons fire, they create the equivalent of circuits in your brain. When you repeat an action you've repeated before, these circuits get reinforced until the action becomes a pattern and the pattern becomes a circuit. So it's continuing the process until it becomes not even a thought of why you do it. You just do it. And it's continue to work it so that it works for you. This one was a question that she asked that I'm not going to read it as a question, but it talks about aligning. And she basically align your process, your personality, your platform, and your potential. Align them all together.
Yes.
She points out that a lot of people don't do that because they're scared that they're wrong.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't do a lot of things because I don't want to look stupid
Mhm.
and I hate being wrong. Do not like me.
Was wrong once. I think
You should get me. See,
like 30.
but I was gonna say, how do you remember that though? Because I'm sure it was so long ago.
I know, bless your heart. All right, let's keep rolling through here. Gosh, I think
Wait. No, no, no. Okay, so I thought of something funny. So I wanted to buy someone that is very near and dear to me a sign that said, because they can't be wrong. I wanted to buy them a sign that said, I could tell you you're right, but then we'd both be wrong.
oh, that's a good one. I've seen that one. That's one very good.
Yeah.
I,
And my husband has a t-shirt that says, to save time, let's just assume I'm right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
think I should tell my husband on occasion.
My mother-in-law made him that shirt, and then she made me one that said something about it could be wrong, but it's not likely or something like that.
It could happen.
Yeah.
It's happened before, but it could happen.
I mean,
Possible.
I probably count on one hand, but we won't go there. All right.
We're just joshing.
Did you have anything in 10?
I liked in 10 where she talks about quit heading for burnout. So I just want to say again, this book is a safe read. Don't be afraid to read this book because you think she's going to tell you to quit your dream of writing or believing in yourself or whatever. That's not what this book is about. But chapter 10 is titled Quit Heading for Burnout. And I have headed for burnout. I've driven straight toward it. I have made a map that will get me straight to burnout. And then I've gotten to the town of burnout and it's like, how did I get here? This is not optimal. And then I drove away and came back. And so I've been all around burnout town. But one of the things that she says that I often forget is sometimes you need to check out. Sometimes you need some quiet time. And I think we read, what's it called? It's called The Writer's Way. And in The Writer's Way, we read that in another writing group. I think it's Stop Writing Alone. Many writer groups do it. But she suggests some quiet time, some artist time to recharge your creativity. And I'm the kind of person, if I'm not at my desk working or writing, if I'm driving or in the shower, I'm listening to a podcast or a book. I'm constantly doing the dishes. I'm watching, something that's going to help me. But I need to take those quiet moments and let my brain work out the problems in them so that when I sit back at the desk, then I'm recharged. And she says, because in the bored silence, our creative brains are working. And especially if you're a certain type of brain, that is very important to have bored silence. And when she says bored silence, she says, to describe it, she says, it's not the kind of checked out rest that Netflix binge watching provides. It's actual, nothing is going on, bored silence, which sometimes to me is a little scary, but it's necessary. All right, let's not zoom through.
So I didn't tell you what's on this side of my office. This side of my office is a rocking chair, just a rocking chair. And it is for thinking time. It is literally to just sit and rock. I have a notepad there in case I think of something that I need to write down and get out of my brain so I can go back to just sitting.
Cool. That's very cool.
And I have started my mornings. There's an app called Merlin. I've started my mornings sitting outside in my yard. I start the Merlin app, and all it does is record the birds that are singing in my yard.
Oh, that's so sweet.
And I will sit for anywhere from 5 to 20 minutes, depending on the weather. And I will literally just sit there, lean back, sun on my face, eyes closed, listening to the birds. And then when I'm done, I hit stop. And then I look at the list of all the birds that I've just listened to. And I cannot tell you how nice it is to start my day with the birds and end the day in the rocking chair.
Wow, that sounds incredible. Just to stop it and then listen to what birds you were hearing while you were having that moment of silence. That's really cool. We will drop the name of that app in our show notes for those of you
Fabulous. Yeah.
try similar. One other thing that I will point out in here, because I think a lot of people needed to hear it, and I need to hear it, and I need to read it, and I need to put it on a post-it and put it on a mirror. She says, first of all, not being a full-time writer does not equal failure. I'm like, oh, it doesn't? Oh, oh,
Really? Just take that pressure right off and stick it over there.
yeah, that was good to hear. All right. We should probably wrap it up, but you can see we are here, and there's a lot more, for those of you who don't have the video, there's a lot more pages in the book with tabs. So if you have anything you want to highlight in the next few chapters of the book, I started doing multiple pen colors. And
So there are only two things, and then I'm going to stop looking. Okay. There's only two things. I'm going to stop looking. So in the very next chapter, she talks about expectations.
Mhm.
Okay. And I literally wrote something at the bottom of the page. Okay. And I wrote, create a pattern and expectations that are sustainable. So that was what I wrote at the bottom of that. And the very next one is about your problems. And it says you have to be willing to learn from your mistakes. But more than anything else, you need to stop learning the wrong lesson. Quit fixing the wrong problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
I put a little star next to that one. I was like, oh, okay. And it's like you said earlier, when you take stuff out of the system and you put them in, you need to put them back in one at a time. So is that what broke it, or is that going to fix it? And it's like when you're Like when you go on an extended fast and you start eating all the food again, add them in one at a time if you're trying to figure out what's messing you up.
Yeah.
Because if you add them all in, you just wasted the fast. That becomes necessary all over again. But figure out what the real problem is and fix that problem. Anything else you wanted to point out?
There is a really good, she has some action items in the book. It's not like at the end of every chapter, but as you read, she'll say, here's some thoughts for this chapter, or here's an exercise, do this. And one of the exercises she has, I'm going to skip all the way to 135 because we're starting to wrap up. Double check. I believe that is chapter 15. And I'm not going to tell you the title. I'm going to leave that as a mystery for when you buy the book. But on page 135, she says there's some questions that you need to ask yourself if you're feeling fear, if that's what is, that's what's at you, or maybe you don't know. But there's some questions. What if it's awful in terms of your book? What if I fail? What if everyone hates me? What if people see that I really can't write? What if this book doesn't sell? And she says it's not, the gist of it is, it's not enough to just read those questions and think about them. You need to actually answer those questions for yourself. And maybe you can do it with an accountability partner or a coach, or just do it on paper and write the answers to that. But you need to, she says, first of all, never give in to rhetorical questions. Make them real questions. And you can journal about them or whatever, but you need to do the work so that you can get beyond the fear that you might be having when it comes to writing your book. Anything else for you on Dear Writer, You Need to Quit by Becca Syme?
I want to just point out the very back of the book. The very back in the section called Note.
Yes.
She goes in some of the things that she explains. She's quite sassy. I like it.
Yeah.
But she explains some stuff in more detail. She gives you some little more information on some of the things. I would not skip over that part. I think you should read that part as well. Just as a side note, you should read that part as well. So I give this 15 out of 10.
All of a sudden we're doing ratings. That's good to know.
Why not?
We both
Why
read
not?
we both
Yes.
the book. We both suggest you go,
Yes.
and not just go get it and put it on yourself. Actually read it.
Go get it and put it on yourself. I'm just going to lay with it like this.
Shelf. Did I say self? All right. So that's it for us, the Right Crowd and Writing Craft Book Club this episode. Please like and subscribe and tell all your other writing buddies. Bye.
Bye.